Let's preview tonight's Spurs-Hawks game and get the pulse of the fan base.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hope you're having a great work week. And yeah, you guys are the everydayers. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, the list goes on and on. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now, download that Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So hope everybody's having a great day. And what are we talking about on this episode? Well, we're going to have another fan episode. For those of y'all familiar with that is where we bring in a fan, and that fan represents the entire fan base on a couple of topics. Those topics are going to be, nobody's surprised, how fans are reacting to Pop's mic moment. You remember that moment. And then as well as the start of the season and the poor record. But before we do that and bring in our guest, by the way, again, just a quick reminder, he could not do video. He could only do audio. So after this portion, it'll be an audio segment coming up next. But we're going to preview tonight's Spurs-Hawks game. Yes, welcome back, Quinn Snyder, Patty Mills, and DeJounte Murray. I'm going to be curious to see if any Spurs fans boo Murray and if Pop is going to do another one. I doubt it. He did say it was just a one-off. But it was going to be interesting to see how the reception is going to be for Murray, who was traded to Atlanta, and then had some words about his experience playing for the Spurs. So let's go ahead and dive right into it and preview tonight's Spurs-Hawks matchup in San Antonio. Spurs are 3-14. You all guys know, 12-game losing skid. Hawks are 8-9, and they're currently on a 2-game losing skid, all on the road. The Spurs are coming off a road loss versus the defending champs, Denver, 132-120. For those of y'all with Wemby watch, Wembyana had 22 points, third in a row, by the way, of scoring 22, 11 rebounds, 6 steals to lead the Spurs in the loss. Osman had 7 points. Zach Collins had 9 points, 4 rebounds. So had 4 points, exited the game after an injury. He did not return. And Keldon Johnson had 10 points. Devin Vassell had 19 points. Injury watch. Wembanyama is questionable tonight. So if the Spurs are looking to snap their losing skid, it won't be any easier if Wemby does not play tonight. And Sohan is probable, so hopefully he'll get some run tonight. For those y'all on Spurs jersey watch, the Spurs will be in their association jersey. Those are the white jerseys. And what are we watching about, at least looking for, during the game? Well, as mentioned, the Hawks actually lost 2 in a row on the road. So that bodes well for the Spurs. Hopefully that will continue. But you also got to check out the Spurs and the Hawks assist game. The Spurs actually are one of the better teams when it comes to assists. Now, the Hawks have recorded 8 consecutive games of recording fewer assists than their opposition. Spurs got a share of that ball. Over the Hawks do not get everybody else involved. You know, that one game where, now we decide to go and share the ball. Here we go, Atlanta. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So that bodes well for the Spurs. So far, so good. Now, keep an eye on the scoreboard. If the Spurs are down after the third period at home, they're 0-3. So they cannot recover from being down on the scoreboard after 3 periods are done. So keep an eye on that. Now, also in the third period, that seems to be the do or die for the Spurs this season. Why do I bring that up? Well, the Spurs are averaging 32.5 points per opposition. Yeah, that's right. The opposition scores 32.5 points in the third frame. That's the most of all of the 4 periods. Keep an eye on that. Now, you also got to look at the Hawks. Now, despite the fact that they have lost 2 in a row on the road, but if they're cooking on the road and they're up at halftime, the Atlanta Hawks are undefeated. They are 4-0. So we got to keep an eye on that halftime score. If the Hawks are up, might spell doom for the Spurs. If the Spurs are down after the third period, that also might spell doom for the Spurs. But again, the Hawks are not sharing the ball, so that should bode well for the Spurs. And hopefully they will fix whatever ails them in that third period. Yeah, giving up way too much points in that third frame. 32.5, unacceptable. So, as mentioned, we'll be having a fan episode coming up next. The fan is Zach Escamilla. He is no stranger to Locked On Spurs. He's going to be chiming in on his thoughts and the fan base's thoughts on Pop's Mike moment and the start of the Spurs season. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
You want to go to gametime.co right now, everyone. Look, you shouldn't have to worry about when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Look, you get the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation, job loss protection. They got you covered only at gametime.co. Flash deals, zone deals, tickets for every kind of event in your arena. Look, you want to see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. The all-in prices show your total up front, so you know what you're getting. A great deal without hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Zone deals. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app right now. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed.
Hey everybody, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs, hosted by Victor Wembanyama's new best friend, Jeff Garcia.
And we are now joined by Spurs fan Zach Escamilla, no stranger to Locked On Spurs. He is back to represent the Spurs fan base on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. And Zach, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. And we reserve these topics for you because these topics are just being debated almost daily now, Zach, between the Spurs fans.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. And Zach, why don't we start off with the big elephant in the room, or shall we say the big, long-time head coach in the room, and that is Gregg Popovich. Look, from Spurs fans to former NBA players like Andrew Bogut to a former Spur who helped win 2 titles in San Antonio, Robert Horry, everybody is not liking what Popovich did a few days ago versus the Clippers, where he took the mic and scolded Spurs fans for booing Kawhi Leonard. He not only doubled down, he tripled down after the game. He said, "You don't poke the bear." And then against the Warriors, ahead of the Warriors, he said that he has no regrets. What are fans saying? Are fans still upset to today about what Pop said to them?
Well, Jeff, while acknowledging Gregg Popovich's illustrious Hall of Fame career, it's important to really highlight that his actions to rile up our fan base, in my opinion, were unexpected and uncalled for. He's a respected figure in the basketball world, and I really believe his behavior, caught many of us by surprise and off guard. I think it could have been handled differently, especially to maintain a positive rapport with the fans, which, in all honesty, I don't know if Pop really cares about maintaining any type of positive rapport with fans, but I look at it, Jeff, I think just like everyone else looked at it. I sat there at my television. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. And, Kawhi, that situation, I understand where people look at it and say it's time to turn the page. But on the other hand, just look where we're at as a team and as a city. Our fan base is in shambles because, yeah, it's great we got Wemby, but outside of that, there's not a lot else to be excited about. And a large part of that is due to the way Kawhi Leonard exited, the team.
Yeah, you mentioned about being stunned. I was stunned as well. I was at the game and just couldn't believe my eyes what was happening. Pretty much all of San Antonio, the NBA world, sports world, Zach, were just scratching their heads and kind of yelling them collectively like, "Pop, what are you doing?" Now, to be fair, there are some that do agree with Popovich and what he did, but the vast majority, Zach, are shaking their head and pointing their fingers at Pop, saying, "No, no, no, no." Do you think Is this just basically the line from The Dark Knight? You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. Are we seeing that with Popovich?
I actually really love that analogy, Jeff. I think you could make that argument that we are seeing it. And, I don't think any fan is trying to come out and say that they know more than Gregg Popovich or, have, greater basketball IQ, et cetera, whatever you want to say. But ultimately, I think in any profession, people reach an expiration date, just as we reach an expiration date in our lives. Sometimes you just need to move on. And I think with Gregg Popovich, although he's still smarter than the average fan, I think at this point in time, he's clearly showing signs of becoming that villain. You can't rile up your fan base like that. You got to be behind the fans, at least pretend like you care about them. He doesn't have to really, care behind closed doors, but at the end of the day, the fans, we're the paying customer, and we expect better. I know it's a young team, but ultimately, what Gregg Popovich did was simply uncalled for. And I know people will disagree with that. They're going to say, how dare you disagree with the GOAT,
Right.
Page on Kawhi. I get that. But at the end of the day, the Spurs are where they're at, just like I said in my previous answer, because of what Kawhi did and the fact that Popovich stood up for Kawhi. Don't poke the bear. It's like Kawhi has always killed us, even right after he left the team to go to got traded to the Raptors, whether he's been with the Raptors or the Clippers, he's had some of his best games against the San Antonio Spurs. So I don't think we need to poke the bear to upset Kawhi Leonard. I think he's a great player, and who knows, maybe he just wants to stick it to Popovich. I don't think he really cares what the fans think. I never got that vibe when he was a San Antonio Spur, and I don't get that vibe now that he's a Los Angeles Clipper.
For me, it's this. It's that whole secondary reaction. The first reaction, pick up the mic and telling fans to chill out. Okay, then the second reaction was in the post-conference session where he says, "Oh, you don't poke the bear." To me, that's like, isn't that something you say to your roster, not to the fans? Like, that's a strategy, psychological strategy you tell your team to do, not the fans. The fans, although, they are the paying customer and they are, filling seats and paying the merchandise and the fees and whatever, that's part of the experience. The whole poke the bear thing, you say that for your roster. You don't tell that to your fans. And guess what, Zach? Something tells me that they're not going to stop booing. And I think now, to me, he just poured gasoline on the situation, didn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, Jeff, now you're going to have fans that are going to boo Pop. I'm not saying all fans, but you're probably going to have some that are going to be like, you know what, Pop, the team's 3-14. We're going to boo you. I'm not saying all fans are going to do this, but I'm just saying you may have some.
Yeah. Where do you stand? We're talking about collectively, what the fans are dealing with and, shocked. And even until today, as I mentioned, people are still talking about it. Will Zach Escamilla boo Popovich or just boo an opposing player, perhaps out of spite, just because of what happened?
When I go to games, Jeff, I always boo the other teams. I boo because I can't say anything else. I don't want to get kicked out of the game, right? Yeah. To me, going boo, like, that is the most tame thing that a fan can do towards an opposing player, whether that's a former player or just the other team in general. I mean, a boo is it's tame. It's not like we're going out there getting personal and saying, something about, their appearance or their family's appearance or, using any F-bombs or any other type of curse words. It's simply a boo. So, I mean, that's something you hear in any sport, at any level. Heck, I've been to high school events where they're booing. So, a boo is a boo, right? So these athletes aren't, they're grown men. They're accustomed to hearing boos. So the fact that Popovich had to get on the mic and say, "Hey, we're better than that," and it's thinking, Pop, you've been coaching for, decades now, and you've heard boos before. It's like, where have you been, man? This is kind of the thing in sports. So I don't know. To me, I thought it was silly. I know some fans were saying, "Oh, what if this is CIA Pop? You know, he's trying to show Kawhi he still loves them, and the Spurs are going to go after Kawhi." Somebody mentioned that, and I kind of giggled. I mean, who knows, man? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Could you imagine if he came back? Oh my goodness, that would be that would be civil war, right?
Yeah, exactly. That I mean, the fan base will not have that, and it's just the react. I mean, you're talking about like from local reaction to national reaction to Stephen A. Smith on ESPN to everybody else in between, even to Zach Escamilla. This is reverberated so much because of the snowball effect. That's what I'm worried about. Is what's going to happen next? Are fans going to be allowed to, wear certain jerseys? Are fans not going to be able to, just do anything to be involved in the game? Like, when does it end? And Popovich, did he set a precedent? I hope he didn't. I hope this is not the precedent you want to set, because who's next? Steve Kerr going to mouth off at the fans? Spoelstra? When is it going to end? You're already starting to see players interact with. Just recently, Westbrook got in another back and forth with fans because they were heckling him. It just feels like the NBA is, dare I say, getting soft, Zach?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because I think I saw somebody post, "Hey man, Westbrook should come to the Spurs because, hey, we don't boo people here." It's like maybe he'll love it in San Antonio because Pop is gonna go over there and rub his back and shoulders and say, "It's all right, buddy. I'm going to tell the fans not to boo you." I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm rambling here, but yeah, Jeff, the league is definitely going soft. You and I have been around a little bit.
Oh yeah.
We're seeing, the ball played, a long time ago where, these flagrant fouls that they call now was simply a hard foul back in the day.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No blood, no foul was the rule.
I mean, guys like Rodman and Charles Oakley would have been ejected nightly with the way play is today compared to back when they were playing. So to me, it is frustrating to see how soft the league has become, just as a whole. From the officiating to the players being divas, to now Coach Pop having to get on the PA mic during the game to tell the home fans to not boo Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. I wish I knew what was going on in his mind when he thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. Screw it. I'm going to actually go out and do this. I'm going to grab the mic and tell my home crowd to stop booing a player that is now a villain for the San Antonio Spurs franchise. I don't know what possessed him to do that or how he thought that would go.
No, I'm right there with you because, to see it live and in person when it happened, I was like, whoa, what? But, remember I did say he tripled down again. That was like ahead of that recent Warriors game in San Francisco. And then he changed his tune. And that's what's interesting. It went from stop booing Kawhi, show some class, to, oh no, don't poke the bear. And then it turned into, I have no regrets because we live in a hateful world. And, you don't teach your children, to behave that way. I mean, he went to that route. So it just felt that perhaps maybe he was overstepping his bounds a bit. But, it is what it is. It happened. Do you think go ahead? You go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, maybe I just still go back to, why Kawhi? He's been involved in professional sports, for, 40 plus years now. And now all of a sudden you get a soft spot for an opponent. Mm-hmm. Your fans are simply booing. Like, again, the timing of it. Like, why now, Pop? Like, that's what I would want to ask him. If I could ask Pop one question related to that incident is, why now? Mm-hmm. I know he'd probably give something like, well, I got tired of it throughout the years, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, but it's like, dude, you're just, like you said, Jeff, you're throwing gasoline on the fire. I guarantee next time Kawhi's in town, the boos are going to be louder. Guarantee it.
And who's going to be next? DeJounte for the Spurs next game? Not at the level of Kawhi as far as fan, ire, but he did have some choice stuff to say, from Tony Parker to the franchise being in shambles, basically left and right. But so when does it stop? I think Spurs fans are just going to boo on purpose now, just out of spite. He just made it worse. Time heals all. Will we forget this? No, but Spurs fans will remember it. And, perhaps another reason why they should start winning, Zach. Winning cures all, right? So maybe that'll.
Exactly. If the Spurs were winning right now, Jeff, the boos wouldn't have been as loud. But the boos were loud because the team's only won 3 games when fans expected more. I expected more. I went on the record and thought this was going to be a 40-win team. And I'll admit, I look like a fool right now. This team looks lucky to win 20 games at the rate that they're going right now. So a lot of fans expected more. Not just, Wemby's doing his thing, but we expected to see, guys like Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell's, when he's healthy, he's well. We just expected to see more from this team, because the fact of the matter is, there wasn't a lot of turnover from last year's team to this year's team. And last year's team definitely showed us a lot of flashes. Like Julian Champagnie, what happened to him? And Mamu, those guys were killing it at the end of last season, and now those guys are nowhere to be found. So, again, I know I'm going in another topic, but the point is, we're a 3-win team. Fans are frustrated. They look at Kawhi. They see the caliber of player that he is, and we had that. And they're like, you know what? The heck with you, Kawhi. We're in the hole we're in now because you left the way that you did.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple.
Absolutely. There's perhaps would have been a better time and place for Pop to make his remarks, but he did what he did. It's already in the past. It looks like for Spurs fans are not forgetting what he did. So it'll be interesting to see how this is going to transpire throughout the season. And yeah, it's just, he protects a former Spur, the one that torpedoed the franchise into where they are now. So just a bad look, Popovich. Hey, but Zach, perfect segue. Thank you very much. When we get back, we're going to discuss how fans are reacting to the horrific start to the season. Only 3 wins. That's it. 3 wins to start the Spurs' new season. We're going to hear what the fans are saying, what Zach is saying about the bad start to the new season.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Hey, I want to talk about FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet. That is a winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So you've been thinking about joining FanDuel. There's no better time to get on the action than right now. The app is so easy to use. It's a wide range of betting options that include spreads, player props, over and unders, so much more. You're going to have fun with the FanDuel app. That's where you got to go get it right now. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and get the NBA season going. Keep on going with the NFL season. It's all ready to go for you at FanDuel. You'll have fun. I have fun on it. You'll have fun on it. Check out those futures. Check out those. Just player props, everything. You want to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Also want to talk about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. You go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's in the 281 to 1604 area, servicing the San Antonio community for so long. They're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs, and they got you covered when it comes to beverages. They got dairy alternatives, the Red Bull infused Lightning Bolt series, the Alien, which is a hat tip to Victor Wembanyama, full can of Red Bull, kiwi, green apple, very good. They have the signature drink called the Mudslinger. We also have the OG OJ. That's the Orange Julius recreated only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. They have the Sub-Zero. That's a hat tip to UTSA's Frank Harris. Look, they got it all over at Mudslingers. Open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Over 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong. No way they're wrong. Friendly staff, great service, great menu, everything you need in one stop to get your day going or keep your day going on, only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Find them on social media on X, Threads, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The list goes on and on at Mudslinger SATX. That is all one word. Go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Hey, life is too short for bland coffee.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Zach Escamilla. He is repping the fan base on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs. Is it about time we have a fan episode? Because so many things have happened impacting the fan base, from Popovich going directly at the fans to now the fans being very disappointed in the Spurs' start to the season. Zach, you hit it a little while ago saying that you did not see this coming. Do you feel collectively a lot of Spurs fans agree with you that they feel blindsided to the start of the season?
I would say most probably are blindsided. I know there were definitely a lot of folks saying this was a 20-win team, or, they were going to be around that 28, 29 mark that Vegas initially had the Spurs at. I know you reported they dropped it to 24, which in my opinion
about 24.
is being generous with the way they're playing right now. But I think a lot of folks thought, all right, Wemby is definitely going to, improve us one way or another, right? And they're definitely going to win more games than last year. Some of us just had more, I guess, lofty expectations. I truly believed that, guys like Champagnie and, Mamu and some of these other role players would take a step. And, with the experience of the team last year, adding Wemby to the mix, I just expected more. I mean, we saw a lot of great things at the end of last season with this Spurs team, and I don't want to be one of those guys, Jeff, that's over here saying, oh, it's all on Jeremy Sohan, it's his fault, he's not a point guard, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be that guy. Now, is he a point guard? No, but that's not his fault. When the guy was playing at his natural position of power forward last year, he was killing it. He was doing great things for the team. And he's still one of my favorite players. He's just being asked to do something that, quite frankly, is unfair to the team, but mostly unfair to him. You're asking him to do something that isn't in his DNA, to be a point guard. That's just not who he is. So the fact that Pop is playing him at that position and expecting him to run the team, that's not fair. And it's not his fault. So I'm never going to place the blame on Jeremy, because he didn't ask to be put in that position. And he's trying his best, So, again, I just look at the team as a whole, and it's just disappointing, man. I mean, I expected more, and I think in general the fans expected more.
Yeah, and I don't blame the fans for expecting more, considering last season was, it is what it is. Everybody knew that what they were doing, and it worked out. Their bad record got them the number one pick, equal Wemby. So for me too, I'm a little surprised too. I thought that, just the addition with Wemby coupled with the chemistry built over from last year to this year would carry over, and away we go. And I thought they turned that corner when they went into Phoenix and won those 2 games. I said, okay, this is it. Wow, they're way ahead of schedule. Check this out. NBA, watch out. And then all of a sudden the wheels came apart. And what is so disheartening is the manner in which they are losing. You see them literally check out. Look, I'm not the one to saying it too. Cedi Osman said it too during a recent home loss, saying that this team panics in situations where other teams are storming back or they get punched in the mouth early. So a sign of maturity, perhaps, or basketball maturity, chemistry, I guess, sure. But Zach, these are pro players. I think it's time that they stop leaning on the "we are young" thing. Do you think Spurs fans get tired of that excuse?
Absolutely. I get tired of that excuse. I mean, Devin Vassell's been in the league, 4 or 5 years now. Same with Keldon Johnson. I mean, yeah, they're young players, right? They're not, in their 30s yet. But all of these guys are not 1 or 2 year players. They've been around long enough to be considered vets, right? I mean, I guess some people think of vets as, a guy like Cedi that's been in the league closer to 10 years. I don't know. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're not rookies, right? Except Wemby and some of the guys that are playing in Austin, like City right now. But the point is, the whole we're young excuse thing. Zach Collins has been in the league a minute. So I throw my hands up.
Yeah, Keldon, Trey as well.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are not 1 or 2 year players. They're not even third-year players. They're already 4 years or beyond. So at some point, you have to look at this group and say, who here is going to be part of the solution and who here is part of the problem? That's not really my job to answer that question. That's up to the Spurs and their scouts and their, the organization to make those decisions. Obviously, Wemby has shown us, I mean, he is the real deal. He is. I mean, haters be damned. The kid's 19, and he's done some insane things for being a 19-year-old basketball player. So, Obviously, he's a keeper. He's your franchise cornerstone. But the thing that scares me the most, Jeff, is what is his patience level? Mm-hmm. How patient is he going to be with this rebuild?
Yeah.
You clearly see his body language, his facial expressions. He's getting tired of this real quick. Mm-hmm. I don't think you need to be an expert in reading folks to know that that's what is going through his mind. You clearly see it on the kid. Mm-hmm. So my fear is, how long is his rope? How long is he going to give the Spurs? How much of a leash is he going to give them and say, you know what, I need better players around me? Is he going to come to them this summer and make those demands? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe he already has made those demands. But the Spurs can't fumble this, man. They can't.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It's interesting to see you hear and watch and keep an eye on the Spurs fan base as this season continues. 3-14. They are the worst team in the Western Conference by percentage points, just behind the Memphis Grizzlies. They're 3-13. The Spurs have lost 12 in a row, third longest losing streak in franchise history, and it doesn't get any easier. Perhaps the Hawks game this upcoming week will fix whatever hurts them right now. But even at that, I wouldn't be surprised if they drop a game to Atlanta. Oh, and by the way, then they got the Pelicans and the possible return of CJ McCollum for that game. And then they got a pair of games against the Lakers. So fun times ahead. But I guess, Zach, the good news is their schedule will lighten up. They kind of got front loaded with a lot of heavy hitters. Maybe, Zach. I'm searching here, Zach, for some sort of positivity right now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and that's the thing, Jeff. I mean, so many of the folks that were team tank last year, including myself, we're not team tank this year. I think this is, almost a rare thing. Because I feel like all of Spurs Twitter, we're all pro-winning right now. Everyone wants to see the team win. I don't think there's anybody team tank right now. Everybody's like, hey, no, let's win. Yeah. So at least we have that going for us, right? Everybody's all on board.
Everybody's united.
I mean, at least we all have that same goal. We want the team to win now. So, again, trying to be positive, look for silver linings. At least Spurs fans are in agreement that we all want to win right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Trying times for the Spurs fan base right now, from Popovich popping off on them to the horrific start to their season. But that is the pulse of the San Antonio Spurs fan base. Thanks to Zach Escamilla. Zach, as always, we appreciate you hopping on Locked On Spurs, giving us that pulse of the fan base, and we appreciate it. Hopefully, the next time you're on, we're talking about wins, maybe. Then we're just wrecking shop, hopefully, crossing fingers, maybe.
Maybe that, or a big trade, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, exactly. Something. Some way or another, we will get Zach Escamilla back to rep the fan base. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, the Kins 5 Plus app, YouTube. The list goes on and on. And as always, you guys are the everydayers. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first stop. So for Zach Escamilla, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this fan episode of Locked On Spurs.